Welcome back to the GreenLight Investor for the week ending November 20th, 2015. Our goal at the GreenLight Investor is to provide a unique resource to make managing your 401k both a simple and easy process. We do this with a simple worksheet that uses red, green, and yellow cells to help you decide when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. This presentation is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as personal investment advice. If you need to pause this for a moment to read this, please do so. The examples I'll be working with are examples of how you can use this worksheet as an additional resource to help you make investment choices within your 401k plan. Please refer to your own investment policy to make certain that the choices you're making are appropriate for both your investment time horizon as well as your understanding and acceptance for taking on risk in financial markets. Alright, let's go ahead and go right into our worksheet. Here on the left side of the worksheet, you'll see that we have the investment choices available to you, and they're separated into the fund number, the symbol, the fund name, and a description of the fund. We have the core investments on the left side, and as we scroll down, we'll go into the satellite investments. Satellite investments will be separated into different categories, starting out with the money market, which is the most conservative, and we'll go into the fixed income, U.S. growth and income, U.S. equity funds, international funds, and sector funds. Generally, as you scroll down the worksheet, you're getting slightly more aggressive funds, and at the very top with the core investments you have your index funds. Center part of the worksheet, we break this down into the performance year to date, and we start out, and every week we'll update these, showing you the closing price, month to date return, quarter to date return, and the year to date return. This is important so you can see how your fund choices are doing compared to other funds within the available categories. And if you check it on a week-to-week basis, you don't get any real big surprises when your quarterly statements come in. So it's easy to keep track of it, as week-over-week movements are generally smaller and give you a chance to look at your funds and make sure that you're allocated the way you'd like to. And finally, on the right side of the worksheet, we have the current weekly trends. This is a unique part of this worksheet, and I think it's the most important part. And it'll help point you to the funds that are doing the best, and when funds weaken, it'll help point those out. Here we're seeing on a week-over-week basis a bright green light, which means this fund or group of funds has performed the best. And when you see the bright red light, that's been the weakest fund on the week-over-week basis. Down column U, we highlight what I think is the most important column, or one of the most important columns in this worksheet, and that's a long-term trend. You always want to keep your funds in the same direction as the primary or long-term trend of the fund. When you see bearish trends, you want to stay away from those funds, and when you see bullish and neutral, those are okay to stay in or to gravitate towards. On the right side, you'll see the relative strength score on a weekly basis. Each week we update this score, and it'll show you how the fund has done on a relative basis to the other funds available. When you see a red light, that means that the fund is generally in a downtrend, and when it transitions to a green light, that generally means it started to turn north or is going in a positive direction. You'll see these yellow dots, and that means that the fund is transitioning. It doesn't have a strong trend. It's just trying to make a transition, and when you see the yellow lights, sometimes it's worth waiting, or if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you can jump in just a little bit early. And the other thing that the right side, column W and to the right, will show is it'll keep track of the weekly trend scores and let you know if the funds that we're tracking are increasing or decreasing. And the way you're able to see that is when you look at any of the numerical values. If the numerical values are getting larger or more positive, then the fund is doing well and is getting stronger. If you see that the numerical values are getting weaker or smaller or more negative, then that means that the funds are weakening and could be a sign or an early way to make changes to your fund choices. As we scroll down, we'll see that the fixed income funds are showing a lot of red on the left and on the right, so we're staying away from those for now until we see more green. Here in the growth and income, we're seeing some green start to appear, especially in the short-term and intermediate trends. Here we have one of the funds that's transitioned into a GreenLight, and we do have one GreenLight to the right, so this fund group is trying to strengthen right now. Next, we'll go to the U.S. equity funds, and the short and the intermediate term are showing lots of green, so that means in the most recent week or 2 weeks, we've seen some solid strength in these funds. And this is confirmed by the number of green lights starting to change. If we go back to the week of 10/16, October 16th, we'll see that when we were down here, we had all red cells. Then as we've progressed, we've started showing some green, and now we're showing quite a bit more green. So it's becoming a much more favorable environment for investing in equities. Here we have the international funds, and we're just starting to see the similar situation where we have lots of green on the short term and the intermediate trends, and we're starting to see some green in the long-term trends. The other thing that we're seeing in the trend scores is we're seeing some strengthening. This is the first week for these bottom 4 funds to show some strengthening, and this fund up here has shown 3 weeks and it's finally turned to a green check from 2 of the yellows. So it's confirming the uptrend along with the 3 bullish lights to the left. So we're bullish on this fund. And on the bottom, we're seeing very similar situation where we've transitioned from red to green, and we're seeing the green check mark showing that these funds are favorable, as well as green lights in the short, intermediate, and most importantly, the long term. So this gives you a good picture of what's going on in the market and how the dynamics of each of the funds are changing and how the dynamics of the entire market are changing. The more green lights you see appearing, the stronger the strength is in the market. And the same thing when you see a lot of red lights appearing, that shows that the funds are generally weakening and it's not such a favorable time to be investing in the market. Okay, now that we've gone through that, let's see how we can use this information to make fund choices within your 401k plan. We'll go over to the custom views, select my current allocation, and let's click show. Down column H, you'll have my selections, and what this is these are guidelines to keep track of how you are invested in your fund choices. Please note that when you do want to change your funds or view your actual allocations, you should go to your company website and look at the sponsor page that you'll have to log in to see your exact allocation, and occasionally check it and see that it matches what you have here. This is a good way just to see which funds you should be changing, and then when you see that over the weekend, you can change those during the following week again on your company website. So let's go through and see. We like to be 100% allocated, and that's our target allocation. We have a 10% allocation to the index funds. Here we have 10% allocated, and let's see how those are doing. As we slide over, we'll see that we have 2 red lights and a yellow light with the bright red light here. So with this one turning bullish with 3 red lights and a green light here, let's go ahead and make this allocation change. We're going to go ahead and move this 10% down to a different fund. So we'll just simply click it in the column H, and this will be our new allocation. And what you'll want to do is print this out or write it down, and then when the funds are available next week, go ahead and make this change, or a change that's appropriate for your selections in your actual plan. And let's go ahead and continue scrolling down. Here we would like to be 10% invested in the money market. We currently are 20%. So let's go down and see if we have a place to put this extra 10% allocation this week. As we continue scrolling down, we'll see that the fixed income funds, we have a 0% allocation. The reason is because we're seeing red on both sides of column V, and that's generally showing that it's not such a favorable time to be invested. Our growth in incomes, we have a similar story in that we have 0% allocation right now. We're seeing a mix on the left, which may turn bullish, it may turn bearish, we're not certain. And to the right, we are seeing one green light appear, so this could be a fund that we may want to put an allocation to at a future point. And let's continue scrolling down. Here we are with the U.S. equity funds. We currently have a target of 30% allocated, and we currently have 30% in this fund, or in this category. So let's scroll down and see how they're doing. We'll look at this 20%, and we're bullish with 2 green lights on the right, so we're okay to stay here. And our 10% has 3 green lights, and we have green lights to the right, so we're fine. There's nothing to do there. Let's go down to our international funds, and we're seeing where we would like to have a target of 30% allocated. We currently have 20% allocated, and we currently have one fund that we're in that's showing that it's bullish, and we're starting to see a change down in this fund. With that said, let's go ahead and move our capital over to this. Since we are bullish here and we'd like to be 30%, let's go ahead and add an additional 10% to this fund. And most likely what we would do is, if we see this fund turn bullish with another green light next week or the following week, then we may allocate or reallocate funds just to diversify out a little bit more. But for now, we're going to add 10% more to be fully allocated. With our 30% allocation, we'll have 30% in the international funds now. So to do so, you'll see that we have 110%, and what we'll want to do is take 10% out of our money market. And now we are at our target allocations, where we want to be 10% in the money market, and we currently do have 10%. And we are 100% invested, and that's exactly where we'd like to be. So with that allocation adjustment this week, we are back to fully invested in the market. And lastly, let's go ahead and check our sector funds. We have a 20% allocation. We have 10%, and it's showing bullish and bullish. And then we have a 10%, and it's again showing bullish and bullish. So nothing else to do. And that's all there is to going through your 401k on a week-over-week basis. Should be a pretty simple and easy process, and then you just have to make sure that you make the actual adjustments on the company website when you get a few moments. If you'd like to go over asset allocation, there's a questionnaire that will help you determine how the appropriate allocation is for your investment time horizon and your age, as well as your ability to take on risk in financial markets. With that said, let's go ahead and go back to our home page. We'll go to Custom Views. We'll go with Performance, and then click Show. And here we are back at our home. And let's go ahead and close up for the week. If you'd like to get a copy of this sent to you, you can always email me, and I'll put you on our mailing list. We send this out every Sunday. And you can go through the worksheet and see if your allocations are appropriate for what your investment time horizon and your investment ability to take risk is. You can also go to our website, which you can download this worksheet. It'll be available over the weekend, and you can take a look at it on the website or download it to your computer if you want to make adjustments and see what's an appropriate allocation, again, according to your personal preferences and your investment policy. That's what I've got for this week. I hope it's been helpful. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions on using this. I'd be happy to answer those. And until next week, I hope you have an enjoyable weekend, great week ahead, and enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks again for taking the time to go through this video.